The first scene begins as a young man, who seems half-conscious, falls off a building. 24 years later, the movie shifts to a bright medical student, Jane. After receiving a lecture on insomnia, Jane is interviewed by her professor. Jane lives with her grandmother and younger sister, June. The stress of her studies, along with the responsibility of her sister June, grandmother, and managing the family business, and the pressure to pay off their debts, altogether has caused her to become an insomniac. Unable to keep up with the financial problems at home, she decides to quit med school. However, Professor Nietzsche suggests her to volunteer for new drug research at a German pharmaceutical company, in order to help her solve her financial problems. The next day, Jane visits the pharmaceutical company, where she learns about their ongoing sleep research, called DEEP. It involved 3 levels, to extract a brain chemical called crotonin. The human body secretes crotonin to keep itself awake. The research director, Hans Miller, promises her a huge sum of money, and implants a microchip in her nape. This microchip would extract the crotonin from her brain. He gives her a watch to monitor the crotonin level. However, he warns her that she must not fall asleep for more than 60 seconds, until the crotonin level reaches the mark of 100%. And if she fails to keep herself awake, the microchip will induce a cardiac arrest, resulting in her death. The next day, Jane is surprised to find out that she is not the only one undergoing the research. She meets a party animal, named Win, at the school cafeteria, and discovers that he is also a part of the research. As he and 2 other students, a famous beauty blogger, Sin, and a game nerd, Peach, are also undergoing DEEP. Win tells her about other 2 like them, and the 4 of them decide to come together and keep each other company. After reaching the end of the first level, they receive their promised reward. Excited after getting a handsome amount, they decide to proceed to the second level of the research. Despite Hans's warning that they may have to go for several days without sleep this time, they agree to it. But as the days pass by, they become increasingly delirious and frustrated as they try to stay awake. And this starts affecting their relationship with others. At home, Jane picks on her sister irritably. Along with that, these sleepless nights rendered her unable to concentrate on her studies, causing her grades to drop drastically. On the 4th day, they share their frustrations as their crotonin level was still low. Meanwhile, Jane discovers that body movements tend to increase the crotonin. As a result of this revelation, the group decides to hold a rave party at Peach's house. Win also uses stimulant pills in their mocktails to help them stay awake. The stimulant soon causes them to become hyperactive, leading their crotonin level to rise. Sin chooses to leave the party after a while. And she stumbled onto Peach's game room. She is, however, taken aback when she notices her images everywhere in the room. Peach has a huge crush on her, and has been following her around at all times, without her knowledge. She passes out, overwhelmed by the fact that he has been photographing her, without her knowledge. Fortunately, the other 3 found her in time, and resuscitated her. However, they were terrified by Sin's near-death experience. And they all quit the experiment at the end of the second level. Their friendship also hits the rocks, as Sin turns down Peach's apology. And Jane rejects Win when he confesses his feelings for her. Though they had opted out of the experiment, unfortunately, some students who were unaware of the risks volunteered for the research, including June, when their grandmother suffered a stroke, and they needed to pay for her medical bills. And moreover, June persists in doing level 3 of DEEP, despite being warned of the risks. Angry, Jane confronts Hans at the facility to let June off the research. Instead, Hans denies to remove the microchip from June's nape, and threatens Jane to bring the others back for the experiment. Helpless, Jane begs the group to save June's life by joining her to do the 3rd level. But Sin and Peach refuse to do so. However, they both have a change of mind, and show up at the facility the next day. Meanwhile, Jane confides in Professor Nietzsche, who feels sorry for suggesting them to volunteer for the research. And to help them scale through the 3rd level of DEEP, she offers to supervise them in confinement. And to inject them daily with Exerol to keep them alert. However, on the 6th day, the group goes paranoid as they experience vivid hallucinations. And this results in chaos. On trying to call Professor Nietzsche for help, Jane comes across a storeroom, where she shockingly finds several surveillance monitors. Next, she discovers some files, which exposes Professor Nietzsche to be the mastermind of Deep. Professor Nietzsche locks them in, and cuts off the signal, when she learns that she has been caught. And the group spend several days trying to escape to no avail. However, Professor Nietzsche gets forced to unlock the door, when Wynne falls unconscious, and seemingly dies. But as she attempts to extract the microchip from his body, he attacks her. To her surprise, the group had just faked his death, by injecting him with a medication to cause a temporary cardiac arrest. When questioned, she admits that she was merely attempting to use the extracted crotonin. She wanted to save her comatose lover, Jed, the young man who had fallen off the building in the first scene. 24 years ago, Jed had used himself as a test subject for his research on sleep deprivation. However, his extended sleeplessness drove him into a fit of hallucinations, resulting in his fall. And after a series of research, Professor Nietzsche discovers that crotonin from the brain of sleep-deprived humans can wake him up. Nevertheless, the group believes she is wrong for risking their lives to save him. And they attempt to call the police on her. However, this causes her to become desperate, and she tries to kill Jane by injecting her with an anesthetic drug. But fortunately, Wynne saves Jane with a defibrillator before the 60 seconds elapse, and Professor Nietzsche gets arrested. The movie comes to an end, as they all find peace within themselves by mending their personal lives, and enjoying a healthy relationship together as friends. If you enjoyed this recap, kindly like and subscribe to our channel, and click on the bell icon. Do let us know what you think about the movie in the comments section below. Enjoy other movie explanations on our channel. Thanks for watching.